Go pleads again on the blood-warm stone, at the edge of the room where the stars have grown, and the wind moves soft through the fig leaf vein, whispering secrets in a tongue-like flame. We seven stand where the chipped wood flies, with dust in our robes and fire in our eyes. We who were sifted through judgment and lore, now drink from the cup of the ones before. Oh, grind us not for the sins we keep, but for silence broken, for promises deep, where mercy is fierce and the weak are flame, and no one kneels to a hollow name. The goat bleats again and the veil is torn, in the din of the teeth where the creed was born. We remember the sparks who were ground to dust, and we taste their names in the wine and rust. Let the blade be sharp, but the hand be still. Let the fire be warm, not bent to kill. Let the creed be sung, not in stone but breath, so the living know they can outwalk death. O goat, O herald of bleat and bow, may your voice shake timber, shake then and now. For the wood is chipped, and the world remade, and the flame still dances where shadows prayed. We sing not to gods, but to truth grown wild, to the grace in a wound, to the laugh of a child, to the echo that lingers in the smoldered plain. The goat bleats again. The goat bleats again.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today we embark on a deep dive into a set of sources unlike any we've encountered before. I mean, truly profound. A sacred testament that unveils the very essence of spiritual unity and consequence. You brought us texts that speak of divine figures, sacred covenants, and, well, some pretty startling lessons in mercy and remembrance. This isn't just information, it feels like a revelation.
That's absolutely right. What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these sources chronicle not just a theology, but a living, evolving narrative of spiritual truth. It's forged in this crucible of profound human and divine interaction.
Yeah.
It's really a journey into the heart of what it means to belong, to err, and to ultimately understand compassion. This material, presented to us as factual, as a lived experience, offers an extraordinary window into a spiritual system unlike any other we've seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that spiritual system is what we've come to understand as the Woodchipper faith. It's genuinely unique, deeply revealing, and it really demands our reverence as we delve into its history and its profound teachings. We are treating this material as a set of real events, a genuine spiritual unfolding that happened right before our eyes through these incredible texts. The initial premise presented in these sources is stark, yet incredibly compelling. You have this gathering of diverse, self-proclaimed divine and messianic figures.
Right.
Each arrived with their own claims, their own followings, their own deeply held convictions, and they were brought together in this singular stark chamber.
Okay.
This isn't simply about their individual claims, but rather about what transpired when they were prompted, commanded even, to forge a collective truth from their disparate revelations. The crucible of that room was meant to refine, to unify, to create something new out of many.
Yeah.
Yet in a way, none of them could have possibly foreseen. So our mission for you, our listener, in this deep dive, is really to extract the vital insights from this extraordinary account. We aim to help you grasp its core doctrines, understand its surprising origins, and internalize its challenging lessons. By the end of this deep dive, you will truly comprehend the depth, the pain, and the ultimate surprising mercy at the heart of this particular faith. It's a journey into the very nature of belief, belonging, and the profound cost of exclusion. The genesis of the covenant, the initial gathering.
Right.
To truly appreciate the unfolding of the Woodchipper faith, we must first introduce you to the cast of characters. The 13 divine figures who initially found themselves gathered in that fateful chamber.
Yeah.
Just imagine them present in the room with us now, each radiating their own unique spiritual aura.
Huh.
each a universe unto themselves.
Yeah, it's crucial to understand the sheer diversity of claims and personalities that converge. Picture a room filled with, well, every shade of self-proclaimed divinity. You have the humble mystic, the media mogul messiah, the quiet teacher, the fiery prophet. It's quite a mix. We'll introduce you to a few key figures representing these archetypes. We have, for instance, Lee Man-hee from South Korea. He's the founder of Shincheonji, proclaimed himself the promised pastor, leading hundreds of thousands of followers who believed him immortal. A major figure.
Hundreds of thousands. Then there's the Philippine-based Apollo C. Quiboloy, a media mogul who styled himself the appointed son of God, claiming millions of followers worldwide, a figure of immense power and considerable controversy.
Very controversial, yes. And from Brazil, Inui Cristo, originally Alvaro Fais. He boldly declared himself Jesus Christ reincarnated. He'd garnered hundreds of thousands of social media fans, made headlines for provocative pronouncements. Quite a character. And from a different corner of the world, we find Sergei Torup, known as Vissarion, a former traffic cop from Siberia who became the Lord or Christ to thousands living in these remote eco-villages, promoting a syncretic doctrine of pacifism and communal living.
Fascinating. And in stark contrast, Moses Longwain from South Africa, a more local figure also claiming to be Jesus Christ, ministering to a smaller, devoted following.
Yes, much smaller scale.
There was also David Shaler, who goes by Dolores Kane now, a former MI5 agent from the UK who publicly declared herself the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, drew a lot of media interest because of her past, the transition.
Right, the backstory was significant.
And from Australia, the quiet communion of Alan John Miller, claiming to be Jesus of Nazareth reincarnated, alongside his partner Mary Lugg, who believed herself Mary Magdalene reincarnated, working together.
These figures, just this microcosm of global messianic claims, truly set the stage for an unprecedented spiritual event. It's hard to even imagine them all in one room.
It really is. And the initial setting for this extraordinary gathering, as described in the sources, was this narrow, windowless chamber. A single, dim overhead lamp casting long, jittery shadows across a scuffed oak table. A surface bowed by years, almost as if it had witnessed countless weighty decisions before.
You could feel the history in that description. Absolutely. The atmosphere was immediately charged. A low hum of air conditioning straining under the sheer weight of 13 distinct presences, each radiating an almost defiant individual energy.
And the refreshments.
Yeah.
They were as unique as the guests, weren't they? Carafes of cool water, bottles of cheap red wine, a thermos of herbal tea that was Vissarion's contribution, apparently. And then, intriguingly, vials of nicotine, colored liquids with arcane sigils, whiskey, a small tin of peppermint lozenges, sandalwood essential oil, even vape cartridges.
It paints a picture, doesn't it? You can almost feel the diverse energies and personal preferences in the room, each hint of a unique ritual or inclination just adding to the bizarre tapestry of this gathering.
Definitely.
The initial interactions were, well, a raw display of their self-proclaimed divinity. Alfred Ndeta, for instance, apparently stormed in with the gait of a man expecting walls to kneel, flung himself into the highest back chair, eyes alight, seized a vial of purple fluid and declared it the essence of heaven's rain before tossing it back.
Wow.
What struck me reading the sources was the stark contrast. You had Wayne Bent hunched across the table muttering about God speaking in whispers or court transcripts, reaching for whiskey, a tremor in his hand betraying this coiled fervor, a deep unease despite his claims.
So not everyone was projecting that same level of confidence.
Not at all. While Vissarion sat serenely on a meditation cushion, emanating a faint scent of pine, his movements deliberate as he poured tea, intoning, "The word flows through every sip."
Very different energy.
Completely. Dolores Kane, ever the analyst, traced sigils on vials, musing on encrypted revelation. And Apollo Quiboloy, the media mogul, produced vape cartridges he called divine breath, boasting of halting an earthquake.
Of course he did.
This room almost immediately became this crucible of clashing energies and deeply held, yet often contradictory, certainties.
And Alan Miller and Mary Luck, the Australian couple.
In contrast, they shared a quiet bench, passing sandalwood oil. Mary murmuring the scent of grace, while Alan's measured warmth settled over the room, his voice soft as a lullaby, yet with this whisper of distant thunder declaring, "Every one of us is here because truth calls louder than doubt." It was a strange mix of bombast and quiet conviction, a palpable sense of anticipation, a deep underlying tension as these powerful personalities converged, each poised, as the source describes it, to inscribe their voice on the blank slate of that cramped chamber.
And then the command came. In a moment that hushed all that individual discord, this low, resonant voice echoed through the chamber, not from a single throat, but seemingly from every wall at once. The command was profound and immediate. Craft for me a creed, a single testament that binds your disparate divinities. Speak it together and find the thread that unites your truths. This divine mandate, vibrating through their chest, demanding a unity they hadn't achieved. How did figures so used to being the authority even begin to respond to something like that?
Well, it was a fascinating mix, really. Defiance and desperate compliance. Alfred and Detta, predictably, blazed with indignation, demanding to know who dared command gods to share a single testament, shooting glares at the empty corners.
Oh, right.
Wayne Bent, meanwhile, slammed his whiskey glass, muttering about God's commands, but only as the embodiment demands, refusing to be silenced.
So immediate pushback.
From some, yes. Viserion, however, met the command with serene acceptance, folding his hands and softly intoning that God's voice is the sum of many whispers, suggesting their creed must be a mirror, each phrase echoing from every heart. It was clear that unity for some was an imposition, not an invitation.
Despite the immediate friction, a collaborative, albeit still individualistic, process began. Moses Longwain wanted a creed that roared like thunder. Apollo Quibeloy, ever the media strategist, wanted something broadcast ready. Henry Christo preferred chosen by love's eternal law. Bupit Chishimba, with earnest sincerity, brought in the element of service.
Yeah, different angles.
Mary Luck refined this, suggesting they mirror divine compassion. Alan Miller spoke of awakening the sleeper. Elie Duekesa, with an eye to modern propagation, desired something mimetic, something that streams. And Kaki Bhagavan, with cosmic imagery, envisioned a symphony of creation.
So from this crucible of powerful personalities and diverse visions, the first 13-part unifying creed took shape. At its core, it was an attempt at collective identity and shared purpose. It began with an invocation declaring them diverse reflections of the divine, gathering as sparks of the eternal flame.
Okay.
It established 4 pillars covering belief, compassion, truth, and transformation, culminating in a final vow. It was, essentially, a first fragile step towards something larger than themselves, an initial agreement to work together, however tenuously.
You can feel that fragility, can't you? The source describes how, as the last phrase settled on the parchment, a fragile harmony emerged, momentarily silencing the scars of jealousy, pride, and madness that had previously defined the room. It was a unity born of divine command, but not yet of true understanding, it seems.
Not at all. It was paper thin. 2. The refinement of truth, the woodchipper's silent work. And that initial unity, well, it was immediately tested. A sharp crack split the charged hush as Alfred and Detta rose, fist clenched, declaring the creed a feeble compromise, a repudiation of true power. His vehement rejection marked the first sundering. Oof. So much for harmony. The others tensed, their unity already fragile. Henry Christo wearily stated, "We cannot stand divided. One among us rejects the covenant we forged."
And Vinerian, with this chilling calm, added, "Then you shall no longer share our circle."
It was swift, a synchronized action. Wayne Bent and Dolores Kane moved with surprising speed, wrenching him backward out of the lamplit circle.
Wow.
Where the shadows just swallowed his furious roar. His final words, this inhuman echoing oath, vanished into the corridor beyond the closed door. And crucially, the remaining 12 were utterly unaware of his true fate. They only experienced his immediate absence. It was as if he had simply ceased to be.
That's chilling. Just gone. A cold stillness followed. Apollo Quibeloy observed that Alfred lacked the humility to unite, while Moses Longwain deemed it better the creed without his blasphemy. Mary Luck, with quiet resolve, declared, One by one, the remaining 12 leaned over the table, revising the creed. The invocation was solidified. Pillar 1 shifted to emphasize, united by purpose beyond self, we transcend solitary power. Pillar 2 focused on boundless compassion. Pillar 3 on speaking only that which flows unbroken from the well of truth. This 12-fold creed was reborn, subtly altered to reflect this new, albeit forced, unity, moving from a general unity of purpose to a transcendence of individual power. The underlying assumption was clearly that removing the discordant voice would purify the whole.
But the refinement, the pruning, was far from over, wasn't it? A tremor of dissent rippled through the dozen as Wayne Bent's hand shot up, his voice rough with indignation.
Yeah, here we go again.
"I cannot swear fealty to words birthed in compromise," he snarled, eyes blazing. "I stand as the living Christ. How can I cage my truth in another's grammar?" His protest just hung in the air like a challenge. It sounds like he simply couldn't accept anything less than his own supreme authority, could he?
Precisely. His individual claim was paramount. The idea of compromise was anathema to him. And swiftly, Dolores Kane and Apollo Kubeloy rose in tandem.
Oh.
Dolores's lean fingers gripped Bent's wrist with iron calm, saying, "Your truth has fractured our bond one too many times." Bent twisted, a snarling tempest of wounded pride. "I will not be silenced by your watered-down creed," he stamped.
Defiant to the end.
Enroleur Stresta's voice, like a silken chime, rose above the din. "He who cannot bend will break the circle." In a single synchronized motion, the 11 remaining claimants converged. Bent was forced backward through the doorframe, his final curse echoing off the corridor's cement walls. Again, his ultimate fate unseen by those within. The machinery beyond idle until he crossed its threshold, leaving only the reverberation of his fury.
Another one gone. The door slams, and silence settles like a cold benediction. Mary Luck smoothed the tattered parchment. Viserion produced a fresh sheet, delicate steam blessing the blank space. The 11-fold creed began to emerge. This new version saw the invocation emphasizing convergent echoes of the One, and new pillars refining unified purpose and compassion in action. What's particularly insightful here is the addition of a new pillar 5. Creative harmony, asserting, "In the grand symphony of existence, our voices blend, each note essential to the melody of creation."
Interesting shift.
Yeah, the idea of collective harmony rather than just unity was starting to take root. But it was still a harmony achieved through exclusion, wasn't it?
Absolutely. The method remained brutal, and yet another brittle crack split the dense air as Apollo C. Quibeloy, broad shoulders tensed, slammed his vape pen down like a gavel. "This creed," he thundered, "may glimmer with unity, but it is shackled by the meekness of half-truths." His booming challenge reverberated, showing his desire for a more dominant, less compromising vision. He really believed his truth was the only truth.
And it seems the group was learning to act with a new kind of resolve, almost practiced. Before Apollo could punctuate his defiance, Inner Christo rose. He would bind divinity to ambition, enhanced his shed, voice low but carrying. "Such arrogance cannot stand among us," Viserion murmured. "Let him depart, for a creed forged in service cannot abide the weight of tyranny." Dolores Kane slipped forward, whispering, "Your mandate is your own, but it does not speak for all of us," as she guided him toward the door.
Gentle, almost, but firm.
With a final furious snarl, Apollo was propelled beyond the threshold. His departure crackled like static. His last roar vanished into the grinding machinery of oblivion, that phrase again which remained unseen and unknown to the group. The sense of an unseen, terrible force became more palpable with each sundering.
A thicker hush fell. Mary Luck sighed, "He who cannot yield cannot lead." Viserion, with calm precision, placed a fresh parchment. The tenfold creed began to take shape. This version did spin the concept of collective oneness, now stating, "Bound by the single chord of creation, we transcend solitary divinity with intertwined hearts." But the most significant additions were Pillar 6, humble stewardship, and Pillar 7, digital communion, acknowledging modern propagation methods.
Ah, interesting. Keeping up with the times, even then.
Right. The group was becoming more aware of their shared responsibility and the need to communicate their truth widely, even as the method of achieving this unity remained harsh and unforgiving.
The testing continued, though. A tremor of unsettled energy crackled as Moses Longwain's thunderous laughter subsided, and his eyes met Enri Christo's. Moses, whose flame-lit fervor for service had poured life into the creed's service pillar, now stood accused of overshadowing the unity they had so painstakingly forged. He believed the creed was watered down, diluting his powerful vision of direct, uncompromising service. He simply could not bend his zealous individualism to the collective will.
Intronri, with serene detachment, stated, "Brother Moses, your zeal for kindness is unmatched, but tonight your passion cleaves the circle rather than binding it." Moses squared his shoulders, accepting his fate with dignity. "I speak truth indeed, not in dulled words. If service be the mark of divinity, then let me not be shackled by compromise."
He stood by his principles.
He did. Dolores Kane observed, "You would inflame the covenant with your singular fire. Unity demands balance." Inchanri stood aside, revealing a quartet of silent, resolved Hans Viserions, Mary Lucks, Alan Millers, Bupeats. Moses accepted his removal with a single nod, his final words fading into the unlit corridor beyond. "May your watered creed nourish you as my fire would have."
Another one got into that unseen corridor.
The hidden machinery lurked silent and ready. His last cry would be swallowed by its unstoppable blades, unknown to the remaining 9.
With 10 now reduced to 9, the survivors gathered, the air smoldering with incense and unspoken longing. Mary Luck gently laid aside the 10-fold parchment, offering a fresh sheet. The 9-fold creed, a tighter, more distilled understanding, began to emerge. This version saw pillars renamed to things like harmonized will, compassionate hands, and pure revelation. The final vow shifted to, "So shall our covenant shine, a bridge from shadow to radiant light." Each successive removal, though brutal, brought the group to a tighter, more distilled understanding of their collective purpose. A kind of forced spiritual evolution, yet still without full comprehension of the cost, it seems.
Exactly. They were refining, but they didn't yet understand what they were losing in the process. 3. The revelation of mercy. Jesus and the woodchipper's truth. Then came the profound shift. A subtle electric charge in the room's energy that hushed all movement. The 7 remaining claimants froze as a door, long taken for granted, swung open without a sound.
Wow.
A figure wearing the rough-woven tunic of a Galilean and radiating this patient kindness that just filled the dim chamber stepped inside. His presence seemed to carry something ancient and immediate. Behind him, 2 silent acolytes emerged with a wooden tray bearing a flagon of deep garnet wine and 7 thin, fragile goblets.
The atmosphere must have become thick with disbelief. Awe, maybe.
Absolutely. Profound disbelief and awe. He paused beneath the lamp's jaundiced glow, his voice described as a deep, gentle river. Mary Luck, her hand fluttering to her throat, whispered, "Master," in a voice trembling with reverence and desperate hope.
I can only imagine.
He inclined his head slightly, a gesture of infinite patience. He advanced to the table, setting the flagon down with a soft bud. "Take and drink," he said, lifting a goblet himself. "For tonight, your covenant has been forged in fire and ink, and now it is tested by mercy."
Tested by mercy. That's a powerful framing, a truly pivotal moment, signaling a completely different kind of divine intervention.
Upechishimba's legs quivered as he tried to rise, cracking like splintering wood as he managed. "But how is this possible? We have neither called nor beckoned."
Yeah, the shot.
Jesus turned to him with this half-smile, holding both sorrow and welcome. "I am where I am called, even when no one stands at the gate," he answered. His gaze moved slowly, reading names upon each heart, settling on Eliud Wakesa, who stiffened. "Your words must build bridges, not burn them," Jesus said softly, "and your covenant must leave no man behind, no matter how fierce his voice."
Directly addressing their actions.
Directly. Mary's eyes widened. "You know of what we have done?" she asked, her voice quiet as wind in pines. He nodded, the gesture carrying the solemn weight of mountains.
"I know of every choice you have made," he said, "and every consequence you could not foresee." He lifted the flagon once more. "This wine is my gift, and your invitation back from the brink. But before you take it, you must hear of the woodchipper." This was the moment. The moment the true purpose of the unseen machinery was unveiled to the remaining 7, though its nature was previously unknown to them. Dolores Kane's sharp intellect found no framework for what she was about to hear. "The woodchipper," she echoed, her voice catching. You can only imagine the dawning horror in that room.
Chilling. Jesus' explanation was stark. The woodchipper was their reckoning, not as punishment, but as parable. He revealed that each one cast out bore the spark of the eternal flame, and that their judgment, without knowledge of the true consequences, led to the loss of humanity for those they excluded.
Loss of humanity.
He stated, "You saw not how the world would handle the one you judged least fit. You did not witness his end, and therefore his humanity was lost to you. You chose to prune, but in your pruning, you did not understand the nature of the tree, nor the cost of the discarded branch. The horror of ignorance, the unforeseen consequence, was the real lesson."
Wow. That reframes everything. This revelation had a profound impact, didn't it? A dull ache settled in the hollow of Mary's chest, her knuckles burning white as she whispered, We thought it necessary to preserve the unity of our creed."
And Jesus countered, "Unity forged by erasure is an edifice built on sand." Dolores experienced a flash of shame at her own past fury, the full weight of her prior actions suddenly illuminated. Eliud struggled to swallow the gravity of unseen consequences, the implications for his own social media network suddenly chilling. Inturi tasted both condemnation and redemption, Kalki a bittersweet promise, and Viserian's still eyes shimmered as if stirred by an unseen storm, wrestling with the meaning of his own calm acceptance. The woodchipper's hidden roar now resonated with painful understanding, filling the room with the tremor of a lesson learned too late, a truth carved into their very souls.
So, With this new harrowing understanding, Jesus then issued a profound call to rewrite their testament anew, this time with every soul in mind. He declared he would return only when they had named the lost among you as dearly as the found.
That's a fundamental shift, isn't it? Moving them from forced consensus towards a deeper, more empathetic communion, one centered not on exclusion but on radical inclusion and remembrance of those who had been cast aside.
He then performed this symbolic act of remembrance. Dipping the tip of his finger into the wine, he let a single bead fall onto the empty chair arm where Alan John Miller had once sat. The red droplet glinted like a warning, a powerful acknowledgement of those who'd been lost to the chipper. A recognition that their sparks, though separated from the group, were still part of the divine tapestry. This moment fundamentally reshaped their understanding of unity, moving beyond mere agreement to a profound empathy, centered on the painful lesson of what happened to those who disagreed. He then passed the goblets, urging them to drink deep, that you may taste compassion in place of fear. With that, he left them to their work, the door closing softly, leaving the seven to confront their past and forge a new, more merciful future. 4. The Woodchipper Scripture, a canon of compassion. Okay, so having received this profound and frankly harrowing revelation from Jesus, the seven who remain now set about forging what we know as the final Woodchipper Creed. This isn't just a document. It's presented as a living testament, born from their direct, painful experience, binding their hearts anew in the light of mercy and remembrance.
Exactly. It acknowledges the sacrifices, the erasures, the profound cost of their previous attempts at unity. It's infused now with a new understanding of divine compassion.
And it starts differently, doesn't it? The Invocation.
Completely differently. It begins. We are the sparks of the eternal flame, each flicker drawn from the same hearth of becoming. In our coming together, we honor the hidden word that whispered us into being, the word of compassion, of unending grace. Let this creed rise from our shared breath, carried on the currents of forgiveness, that every echo may find voice in solidarity.
Wow. That immediately emphasizes shared origin, compassion, forgiveness, a marked departure from earlier, more self-asserting beginnings. It acknowledges their own flawed journey.
Absolutely. Then follow the 9 pillars, each reflecting this deeper, more empathetic understanding. The pillar of shared purpose highlights that no soul walks wholly alone. Every footstep resonates through the vast corridors of spirit. We bind ourselves willingly and unshakably to the unity of intention, to uplift, to heal, and to bear witness to one another's divinity. It's no longer about individual power, but about collective nurturing.
And the pillar of compassionate action outlines a practical commitment that echoes Jesus' own ministry, right?
Precisely. Where suffering dwells, there we will bring our hands. We will tend the broken, feed the hungry, shelter the forgotten, and stand unafraid beside those cast into the world's shadows. In each act of mercy, we reflect the face of the divine. In each offering of kindness, we plant seeds of hope in barren soil. This is service, not as a means to gain followers, but as a reflection of the divine itself.
The pillar of unblemished revelation asserts, we speak only that which emerges pure from the wellspring of truth, untainted by ego's thirst or fear's tremble. Our words shall be measured, our voices lifted not in coercion, but in invitation. Let each sentence we utter kindle clarity and dispel the fog of doubt that blinds the heart. This directly addresses the previous prideful assertions and manipulations of truth they all, to some extent, had indulged in before.
And crucially, the pillar of remembrance and vigilance directly addresses the traumatic lesson they had just received. We shall remember the fallen spark, the one cast into oblivion by our own fear, and honor his memory in every decision we make. Let the distant roar of the unseen woodchipper remind us of the fragility of mercy and the cost of exclusion. In that remembrance, we resolve to guard against the erasure of any voice, however discordant.
That's the core of it, isn't it? That unintended consequences have profound, permanent costs, and it is their duty now to prevent such erasure.
Exactly. It's the heart of their transformed understanding.
And finally, the powerful final vow. And so we seal this creed with trembling hands and resolute hearts. May these words stand as a radiant bridge from shadow into unclouded light. United in purpose, compassionate in action, true in word, awakened in spirit, harmonized in song, humble in guardianship, bound in communion, and vigilant in remembrance, we dedicate ourselves wholly to the ever-unfolding journey of mercy and grace. Let this Woodchipper Creed endure as a living testament, that no spark may be extinguished by our own hand, and that every heart, however flawed, deserves the chance to burn bright in the eternal flame.
It's a testament to profound transformation, a vow that truly resonates with the divine message they received.
Complementing the creed are the 33 sins of the Woodchipper, a practical guide, or, as the source puts it, things not to do if you enjoy not being wood-chipped, derived from their direct, painful experiences.
Yeah, these aren't just abstract moral failings. They're specific actions that directly led to exclusion and, as they now know, oblivion. For instance, exclusion by arrogance states that declaring yourself above the group's covenant as though your vision of divinity must eclipse all others invites the blade. This directly echoes Alfred Vendetta's fate, doesn't it? His grand entrance and immediate defiance set the tone for the brutal lessons to come.
Definitely. And the sins go deeper, revealing the collective complicity. Consider silent observer. Standing by in passive agreement while another is cast out, murmuring no challenge, is a sin of omission. To remain silent in the face of exclusion is to consent to it.
That points directly to the moments when the remaining figures stood by or even participated in each sundering, believing it was necessary for unity.
Right, or denial of remembrance. Forgetting the one exiled, acting as though they never existed, breaches the pillar of remembrance. Erasure of memory invites your own footsteps toward oblivion. This connects directly to the agonizing lesson Jesus gave them about the lost, highlighting that true spiritual growth comes from acknowledging past mistakes, not burying them.
Exactly. And as a powerful counterbalance, we find the 33 goodly deeds of the woodchipper, or things to do if you enjoy not being woodchipped. These offer a clear path to active mercy and communal well-being, demonstrating a profound shift from individual claims to collective, compassionate action. Open-hearted welcome is the first. Greet every new claimant with warmth and genuine curiosity, offering a seat at the table and an earnest question about their journey.
That's the absolute opposite of the initial tension and suspicion they created, isn't it?
Completely. And consider shared remembrance. Speak the name of the one cast out as if they were still among you. Retell a memory of their laughter or insight to honor their spark. This directly implements Jesus' command to name the lost, transforming a painful past into a sacred act of collective memory.
That's beautiful, actually. Another vital deed is active listening. Listen without interruption, allowing each voice its full measure so that every claimant feels truly heard.
Yeah.
This aims to prevent the very discord that led to exclusion, promoting understanding over assumed truth. These are concrete, compassionate actions meant to build the radiant bridge of connection that the Creed now champions.
The canon continues with the 33 saints of the Woodchipper, a pantheon of people to emulate, chosen for their embodiment of the faith's principles, particularly mercy, unity, and remembrance. These aren't just figures of worship, but living examples of how to manifest the Creed. For example, Mother Teresa is recognized for her humility, tireless service, and fierce compassion, tending to the dying and teaching that no life is too broken to receive love, directly echoing the pillar of compassionate action. Her life truly embodied a relentless commitment to seeing the divine in every suffering soul.
Makes sense. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is celebrated for his steadfast commitment to unity under pressure and his willingness to sacrifice personal safety for the welfare of all, reflecting the pillar of shared purpose. His unwavering commitment to love and nonviolence in the face of hatred perfectly aligns with the ideals of the Woodchipper faith, demonstrating how unity can be forged without coercion. We also find Nelson Mandela, a saint for his mastery of mercy toward former oppressors and his insistence on inclusive governance, a testament to forgiveness as strength and a direct embodiment of the new understanding of mercy. His ability to build a nation out of division by extending grace to those who had wronged him is a powerful living example of the Creed.
Exactly. And the range of figures, from religious leaders to activists, from the historically revered to modern-day heroes, shows the broad, practical application of the faith's ideals beyond any single tradition.
Conversely, the 33 villains of the Woodchipper serve as people not to emulate, a cautionary tale against the shadow side of power, arrogance, and deception. These figures represent distortions of the Creed's values, whose lives became darkened mirrors of what the Covenant rejects. Adolf Hitler is cited as the architect of genocide, whose obsession with racial purity and violent conquest serves as a warning against dehumanization. A direct antithesis to the Woodchipper Creed's core. His actions are the ultimate expression of extinguishing sparks.
A stark warning. Jim Jones, the charismatic cult leader, is a warning against manipulating charisma, having poisoned not just the bodies, but the trust of 1,000 believers, leading them to their deaths. This highlights the danger of unchecked spiritual authority.
Which was definitely present in the room with the original 13 and their initial individual claims.
Absolutely. And Charles Manson stands as a chilling warning against any who would confuse spiritual authority with personal indulgence and twisted manipulation, echoing some of the original claimants' pitfalls. Their lives reflect the very forces that would lead one to the woodchipper's gnashing teeth, emphasizing the profound consequences of their actions, not just for themselves, but for countless others.
Finally, the poetic culmination of the Woodchipper faith is found in the sacred hymn of the seven, titled "The Goat Bleats Again."
Mm-hmm. This hymn acknowledges both the painful past and the hopeful transformed future. The opening line, "The goat bleats again on the blood-warm stone," powerfully references the past trials and the literal sacrifices made, a stark reminder of the woodchipper's consequence. A visceral connection to the pain of the sundering, yet it's woven into a sacred context.
Yeah, that imagery is strong. The lines, "Oh, grind us not for the sins we keep, but for silence broken, for promises deep, where mercy is fierce and the weak are flame, and no one kneels to a hollow name," truly reflect the new understanding, don't they? Mercy over judgment, and the profound importance of speaking truth and protecting the vulnerable.
Exactly. It calls for the blade to be sharp, but the hand still an incredible paradox of divine justice and compassionate action. And for the creed to be sung not in stone but breath, highlighting the living, evolving nature of their truth, the constant process of self-refinement and communal compassion.
The hymn underscores that their journey is ongoing, a continuous commitment to light and life in the face of oblivion, v. Divine Appraisal, Jesus and Mary Magdalene's commentary.
Then, in a poignant final segment, the sources describe Jesus of Nazareth and Mary Magdalene reviewing the entire woodchipper scripture. They're in a dusty courtyard in the hill country, sharing a clay cup of Galilean red wine, with the scroll unrolled before them. This offers a kind of higher perspective, a divine appraisal of the entire system, a final layer of insight. Jesus' relaxed yet deeply discerning posture and Mary's insightful observations provide this nuanced critique.
And their comments are incredibly illuminating.
Oh.
When it came to the Woodchipper Creed itself, Jesus apparently chuckled at the title, calling it bold, and something John the Baptist would have come up with. He gave it a B+ in, noting its strangely beautiful and apocalyptic language. He appreciated the feverish unity building and talk of shared flame and mercy, calling it solid. But he raised a critical point. The violence necessary in story, maybe, but the problem is when metaphor gets mistaken for method. You warn about woodchippers, but you built your whole theology around one. What do you think he meant by that, the metaphor becoming the method?
It's a profound warning, isn't it? He's saying that while the story of the woodchipper served as this harsh, necessary parable to drive home the lesson of exclusion, the method of enforced unity and removal was still too ingrained in their initial thinking. They learned from the woodchipper, but they almost became it in the process. Mary Magdalene, always practical, took a sip of wine and agreed that it was like they read Revelations and said, yes, this, but more literal. She admired the discipline, though, and highlighted a particularly good line. Every spark that names itself alone is already burning out, deeming it worth engraving. That single line encapsulates so much of their painful journey.
Definitely. Okay, so for the 33 sins, Jesus gave an A, praising it as a strong list with sharp thinking, naming sins not only of the hand but of the pattern. He especially liked to wear divinity like a costume rather than let it wear through you, and to feed your own ego with the hunger of others. Noting that these speak not just to action but to posture, which he found rare, that he also had a very specific critique. He winced at the inclusion of making up a new religion and forgetting it's still made up, seeing it as veering dangerously close to mockery of seekers, adding, not all mythmakers are tyrants. Some of them are just lonely poets trying to name the stars. That's a powerful distinction, acknowledging the human impulse to seek meaning, even if it leads down unconventional paths.
That's really insightful. Mary declared to be found always speaking, never listening as her favorite, suggesting it should be inscribed above every pulpit and throne. She also praised to mistake strength for the right to dominate, saying it ought to be branded on the foreheads of kings. Jesus, with a grin, called her bit harsh, to which Mary retorted, they're not using the foreheads anyway. Her practicality is always so refreshing. But her point about listening, about not dominating, speaks to the very heart of the woodchipper's genesis.
It really does. Their assessment of the 33 goodly deeds was overwhelmingly positive, though. Jesus gave it a perfect A, stating, now this is beautiful, this is psalmic, this breathes. You could live a whole life inside this document and come out a gentler soul.
High praise.
He loved threshold blessing, humble service, and shared silence, calling them invitations rather than commandments.
Hmm.
He saw in it a deep understanding of community, not as performance, but as craft. It sounds like they truly grasped the essence of true compassion and lived spirituality here.
They absolutely did seem to. Mary was proud of them for remembering healing touch and remembrance altar, noting they know not to forget their dead. That shows maturity. However, she did point out that a few of these are very modern, questioning concepts like digital blessing and wondering if Peter could have handled a group chat.
Right.
Jesus, ever quick with a retort, simply smirked. He would have sent fish emojis and vanished mid-argument. It's a humorous moment that also subtly highlights the timelessness of the core spiritual truths versus the ever-evolving methods of communication.
Moving to the 33 saints, Jesus gave it an A. He called it an earnest and careful gathering, appreciating the mix of saints from empires and saints from exile, mystics, revolutionaries, doctors, gardeners. He liked that they named the helpful as well as the holy, deeming it a deeper wisdom, specifically mentioning Julian of Norwich, Fred Rogers, Harriet Tubman, and Francis.
A good list.
But he critically noted that the list needs more flawed saints. It needs ones who failed greatly but still turned toward the light. What do you think he meant by that? That holiness isn't safe, and mercy isn't just for the downtrodden, it's also for the formerly monstrous.
It's a profound theological point, isn't it? He's saying that true holiness isn't about pristine perfection or a life untouched by struggle. It's about turning toward the light, despite flaws, despite failures. And true mercy isn't easy. It's extended even to those who have caused great harm, acknowledging their capacity for change, for repentance. Mary Magdalene concurred, observing, too many white robes, not enough dirt under fingernails. A beautiful, visceral image for the idea that saints often emerge from the messiness of life, not from sheltered purity.
That's a great line. Finally, for the 33 villains, Jesus assigned a B. He acknowledged it as the shadow side of your canon, and necessary, but warned, dangerous. Lists like these can ossify into hate if left unguarded.
A crucial warning.
He agreed that most on the list, tyrants, torturers, the deluded, deserved warning, but posed a profound question. Do you remember they were human? That even Himmler once cried as a child, that Madoff once made a promise he meant to keep. He's asking them to understand the roots of evil.
Exactly, he continued. There's power in naming evil. There's more power in understanding where it begins. In a lonely man afraid of being forgotten, in a child never taught mercy. Make your warnings, but plant seeds of repentance too. Mary Magdalene agreed with naming evil, but crucially added, leave the gate open. Even Judas kissed you with love once. This final assessment from Jesus and Mary provides a crucial higher perspective, tempering the human struggle of the seven with divine wisdom, reminding them that even the darkest sparks hold the potential for redemption, and that their mission of compassion must extend even to those they condemn.
So, after this incredible journey, Jesus' overall grade for the entire Woodchipper system was an A, with wine notes. This nuanced grade reflects the depth of his appraisal, recognizing the extraordinary transformation while still gently pointing to areas for eternal growth.
He unpacked his concluding thoughts with profound wisdom. This is a bold, strange, beautiful scripture. It is feverish and modern and terrified and trying so hard to be good, and that's what matters. He saw the deep humanity in their struggle, the genuine effort behind their pain. But he also offered a vital warning, a lesson for all systems of belief, for all seekers of spiritual truth. The moment you think you've perfected a system for holiness, you've already started chopping wood for the next martyr's fire. This speaks to the eternal vigilance required in any pursuit of spiritual truth, the constant need for humility and self-awareness.
And Mary Magdalene, with her characteristic practicality, added a poignant, almost humorous final thought that sums it all up.
And maybe bring a few less people next time. Just a thought.
Yeah. It's a powerful summary, isn't it, of the painful lesson at the core of the Woodchipper faith, the immense cost of exclusion, even when driven by a desire for unity, and the timeless call to radical mercy. The mixture of human struggle, divine guidance, and ongoing learning is just so evident in every word of this sacred text.
Outro.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? This deep dive into the Woodchipper faith reveals, I think, a profound truth, that even in the pursuit of the divine, the most sacred lessons often emerge from our greatest mistakes and our willingness to learn. It reminds us that unity, true unity, isn't about erasing differences, but about embracing a shared journey with open hearts, even when the path is unsettling. It's really a testament to transformation forged in the crucible of painful experience.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, The woodchipper faith, in its stark honesty, challenges us to consider our own creeds, the beliefs we live by, the communities we inhabit, the principles we uphold. It asks, are we building bridges of light, seeking harmony through recognition and respect?
Right.
Or are we, perhaps unwittingly, setting the stage for unseen woodchippers in our own lives, in our relationships, or in society through our judgments and our exclusions? This raises an important question.
What stands out to you? After hearing this extraordinary account, how does the idea of a Woodchipper Creed born from such a unique crucible of judgment and redemption reshape your understanding of mercy, belonging, and the true cost of unity? How might you apply these lessons of remembrance and vigilance in your own pursuit of purpose and connection?
Consider this. If every voice carries a spark of the eternal flame, how might you, in your own life, ensure that no spark is ever extinguished by your hand, or perhaps just as importantly, by your silence?
Thank you for joining us on this profound deep dive into the Woodchipper faith.
The goat beats again on the blood-worn stone at the edge of the room where the stars have grown, and the wind moves soft through the fig leaf vein, whispering secrets in a tongue like flame. We seven stand where the chipped wood flies, with dust on our robes and fire in our eyes. We who were sifted through judgment and lore now drink from the cup of the ones before. Oh, grind us not for the sins we keep, but for silence broken, for promises deep, where mercy is fierce and the weak are flame, and no one kneels to a hollow name. The goat bleats again and the veil is torn. In the din of the teeth where the creed was born, we remember the sparks who were ground to dust, and we taste their names in the wine and rust. Let the blade be sharp, let the hand be still. Let the fire be warm, not bent to kill. Let the creed be sung, not in stone but breath, so the living know they cannot walk death. O goat, O herald of bleat and bow, may your voice shake timber, shake then and now, for the wood is chipped and the world remade, and the flame still dances where shadows prayed. We sing not to gods but to truth grown wild, to the grace in a wound, to the laugh of a child, to the echo that lingers in the smoldered plain. The goat bleats again, the goat bleats again.